Hello YouTube. Today I would like to review a short story from one of my favorite short story anthologies. This one. This is The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories by Tim Burton. Now if you've ever seen a Tim Burton movie, you'll know his style is very creepy and grotesque, and that's no change here. The stories in this book are very obscure and actually quite funny. So today I'm going to read to you and review my personal favorite. The story I'm going to read is The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy. He proposed in the dunes. They were wed by the sea. Their 9-day-long honeymoon was on the Isle of Capri. For their supper they had one spectacular dish, a simmering stew of mollusks and fish. And while he savored the broth, her bride's heart made a wish. That wish did come true, she gave birth to a baby. But was this little one human? Well, maybe. 10 fingers, 10 toes, he had plumbing in sight. He could hear, he could feel, but normal? Not quite. This unnatural birth, this canker, this blight, was the start and the end of the sum of their plight. She railed at the doctor, he cannot be mine. He smells like the ocean of seaweed and brine. You should count yourself lucky, for only last week I treated a girl with 3 ears and a beak. That your son is half oyster, you cannot blame me. Have you considered by chance a small home by the sea? Not knowing what to name him, they just called him Sam, or sometimes the thing that looks like a clam. Everyone wondered, but no one could tell, when would young Oyster Boy come out of his shell? When the Thompson quadruplets espied him one day, they called him a bivalve and ran quickly away. One spring afternoon, Sam was left in the rain, at the southwestern corner of Seaview and Maine. He watched the rain water as it swirled down the drain. His mom on the freeway in the breakdown lane was pounding the dashboard she couldn't contain, the ever-rising grief, frustration, and pain. Really, sweetheart, she said, I don't mean to make fun, but something smells fishy, and I think it's our son. I don't like to say this, but it must be said, you're blaming your son for your problems in bed. He tried salves, he tried ointments that turned everything red. He tried potions and lotions and tincture of lead. He ached and he itched and he twitched and he bled. The doctor diagnosed, I can't be quite sure, but the cause of the problem may also be the cure. They say oysters improve your sexual powers, perhaps eating your son would help you do it for hours. He came on tiptoe, he came on the sly, sweat on his forehead and on his lips a lie. Son, are you happy? I don't mean to pry, but do you dream of heaven? Have you wanted to die? Sam blinked his eyes twice, but made no reply. Dad fingered his knife and loosened his tie. As he picked up his son, Sam dripped on his coat. With the shell to his lips, Sam slipped down his throat. They buried him quickly in the sand by the sea, sighed a prayer, wept a tear, and were back home by 3. A cross of gray driftwood marked Oyster Boy's grave. Words writ in the sand promised Jesus would save. But his memory was lost with one high-tide wave. Back home, safe in bed, he kissed her and said, let's give it a whirl. But this time, she whispered, we'll wish for a girl. First time I read the story, I really didn't know what to think. I wasn't sure if I should be disturbed or entertained or laugh, but then I realized that's the style of Tim Burton's writing, and that's what every story in this anthology is. Something completely out of the normal that you're not sure how to feel about. But that's why you have to appreciate it for what it is, an odd and obscure story. So all in all, this is definitely my favorite story in the anthology. It's also one of the longest. Some of the stories are like a paragraph long. This one stands out to me. I like the writing, I like the content, and I like what he did with it. Because he could have been sentimental about it, but that's not his style. He chose to go the really grotesque, really odd, make your face wince route, which in this situation was eating your oyster son. Once more, this is The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Short Stories by Tim Burton. Very interesting to read if you're able to find a copy. I'm sure you could also find the stories online. And thank you for watching. Links to Vlogtober participants in the doobly-doo. And I leave you with a short story called James. James. Unwisely, Santa offered a teddy bear to James, unaware that he had been mauled by a grizzly earlier that year.